Okay. I think this is good. I think it's recording. Okay, so we already started the process. We're looking at this source, and we're going through our process together. So obviously we have the analysis and interpretation portion. Okay, so right where I was picking off, where I left off. So on the left, the source reads minivan drivers are oriented towards family, friends, and community. This is suggestive of someone who is a collectivist. It's important to use the words, the accurate words, because that's what they're looking for on the diploma. You understand the ideology behind it. You know, this person's a collectivist. On the right, the source reads SUV buyers focus, we'll just go on themselves, which is suggestive of an individualist. Additionally, the SUV has a few bumper stickers, some of which include slogans related to reducing taxes, reducing, we'll say, national health care, and privatizing social security. Okay. So I'm assuming some of you just started copying this stuff down, and that's not wrong. But ideally, take some of these ideas and build a paragraph response, right? But these are the 5 main points that you can take away from this image, right? So keep in mind, like, does it really matter that the SUV is a 4x4? Is that important? What do you mean, yeah? Not time for joking around. We're recording. We're live people. Okay? So that's not relevant, right? You don't need to include that. What about the color of the vehicles? Is that important? No, we don't need to include that. How about like this guy has a roof rack, right? Like maybe he's gonna go do some cool stuff on the weekend. Do we need to write that? No, right? And you know, maybe you want to include that this looks like a family and this is a single dude. It's up to you, right? But when you're analyzing a source, you want to be very careful with what you select for relevant and irrelevant information. And I think that we basically got all of the relevant information here. Okay, so do we want to see an example of how I would put into a paragraph? Oh man, I was hoping you'd say no. Let's get through the whole process first, okay? Yes, what's up? Uh, yes and no. It's a bit of a complicated question. We'll get into that later, okay? Okay, grade 12. Let's bring it back in. So, in the next portion, what is the message of this cartoon? What issue is the author trying to criticize and highlight? So you can start it off very simple. The message the author is trying to convey is, I want to hear some of your thoughts. Like, what do you think this cartoon is trying to tell us? Is the message the author is trying to convey is that collectivists look out for others while individualists look focus on themselves. I like that. Okay, that was a good assist. Okay, what's another way we could think of the message for this cartoon? What do we think is happening? Oh, it was good. Anyone else? Come on, let's help. Let's help out. So do you guys find it interesting? Like, why doesn't the collectivist here have any slogans? You don't think collectivists want things? You know, and that'll relate more to the next section as well. But do we feel like this statement kind of accurately sums up the message, or is there anything else we could add? Here, let's do this.
The symbolism between a minivan and an SUV, though. I
Um,
don't understand symbolism.
sure. Like, well, I mean, obviously, if you've seen an SUV and a minivan, both of them can fit many people. But what do you most associate minivans with? With family, right? But somebody driving a big SUV, maybe not family, right? Okay. The main issue of this source is what's one of the relevant issues? We could go individualists seek to reduce taxes, cut government costs, put that in brackets, by reducing public health care. Oh, we don't need brackets for that. Normalization general. Okay, do we think this source has a bit of a bias? Do we understand what bias is? So, like when someone favors one thing over the other. Do we think so? What do we think the bias is? Like, we look at this again. Yeah. So there's some bias in the source. The author seems to favor. I like that. We think individualists selfish. Okay, we'll build on that in a moment. Okay. The author seems to favor collectivism. The individualist in the SUV has numerous slogans on the back of their vehicle, but the collectivist has none. That's a bit of a bias. Like, don't you think people who are collectivists have slogans? You see them, if you go to Edmonton, you'll see them all over the place. Fund public education, save our parks, keep our water clean, stuff like that, right? The public education one is very big. People have those slogans on their front lawn. They might have a bumper sticker, right? So this person is being biased. They're favoring collectivism. Like, why doesn't this person also have some bumper stickers? And even that, you could ask, like, when you see a car with bumper stickers, what do you usually think of that person? What kind of bumper stickers do you see? There's one that you're probably already thinking of.
Radio stickers too.
Sure, right, but that's not really what we're aiming for. There's a big bumper sticker. It's usually on the back of pickup trucks lately. Yeah, the F Trudeau one, right? So typically we what?
Find it.
I've never seen that one. Okay.
I've seen that last year.
Liberalism find a cure, right? So generally, when we see a car with bumper stickers, like, what do we think? They're weird, right? So we let's put this in right? I'm just putting that in brackets. Like, we'd have to figure out how to properly integrate that into the essay. But bumper stickers have a perception to them, right? Now, for the record, I'm glad nobody said anything about bumper sticker people, because I have two. But they're both for a charity, okay? Here, let's build on Nigel's idea. So we think individualists are selfish because they want to reduce taxes, cut government spending.
Just make gun access very easy. And
but hold on, Nigel. What does this cartoon have to do with buying guns? Like, where do we see?
It gave me an idea like that, right?
So you could use that as evidence. Like, hey, another thing that individualists want is more gun control. Although I don't think that's true. I think some of the left wants that as well.
I said more gun access, not gun control. Like,
yes, yeah. But it's related to guns. It's related to guns. Okay, control or access, right? Okay, so here's a couple of small ideas just on the topic of bias, right? And grade 12 is like, you want to address bias if it's very clear in the source, like, hey, this person favors this, the author favors collectivism or individualism. It shows that you're able to critically think about the source. Okay? And you don't need to spend like 500 words addressing the bias. Do it in like 2 or 3 sentences, right? And it can build into your knowledge. So, let's try to make a connection between the message the author is conveying so that collectivists look out for others while individualists focus on themselves. What's some information we could use that we learned about collectivism? And keep in mind, I'm going to have to reteach you some of the Unit 1 stuff because, like I said, the first time around is pretty terrible. What are some of the values of collectivism? What's that? You get to what?
You get to be with people.
Yeah, you get to be with people, but how can we make that into a good response for our essay? What's that? Okay, sure. Okay, so collectivists believe in sharing and cooperation. The family on the left, because they don't have bumper stickers, we can assume that they support collectivist things such as healthcare, social security, and I don't know, education. Okay, and it might be hard right now to come up with an example, like even I'm struggling as well, but you still want to make some sort of connection to the ideology and its beliefs, right? So in collectivism, cooperation is a big thing, whereas the person on the right doesn't want to be held responsible for other people's actions or mistakes. This is a key aspect of individualism. Personal responsibility. What else could we say? Here, let's do this. Yes. She may. Okay, so there's just another example of what you might write or add into your demonstrating your knowledge. Again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this is an excellent response, but you want to be able to make these connections, right? So you've connected collectivism with an aspect of it, which is collective responsibility. You've made some sort of connection to where collective responsibility is shown, right? A minivan allows for more people to ride in it, is friendlier to the environment, allegedly, and generally represents families quite well, right? So we're making connections to the material, practical. And in 30-2, you don't need to get like super specific, talk about philosophers and all that kind of stuff. If you can do that, that will definitely help. Yeah, so you might need to support that statement, but for the sake of this exercise, no. But yeah, you should provide some practical examples, some evidence, right? And we're trying to build and support this statement here. So collectivists believe in collective responsibility. This is demonstrating the decision to buy and use a minivan. Well, why does a minivan represent collective responsibility? It allows more people to ride in it. It's friendlier to the environment. Generally represents families quite well. The individual, we could even add, the individualist goes against the idea of taking care of his fellow citizen because he has slogans on his vehicle reducing national health care, right? And again, you can always connect it back to the source, right? Okay, so I'll let you do the conclusion on your own, right? Maybe some of you did your own response and had your own ideas. In your conclusion, summarize your ideas and thoughts on the source in general. You can kind of relate and connect back to what we wrote up here, or you can, like, what you shouldn't do is just come up with a new idea, new reason, new evidence here. Don't do that. Wait, who's got chicken pox? Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording here.